entrepreneur. These are my customers. Them for what connect clothes onto your hair. And when I'm done, I'm going to use some of this. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Different products. Helmet. And I do.
Good evening. Good evening. You just had a little sneak preview there of our next budding hairstylist and entrepreneur there. Good evening, Lolly.
Good evening, Nick. How you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, darling. Very well. Had a bit of a hectic day today, but I'm feeling nice and composed now. I must say, loving your hair today as well. Your hair's looking very.
I thought I'd try something a little bit different, you know.
Nice.
So what is? I'm trying to do something different each time.
Yeah. I wish I could say the same, but I can't. I'm just like,
we can hook you up. I'm sure we've got some good guests that can help you out in that department.
Yes, yeah. Only thing is I've not got the baby hair anymore. It's all like old and grey now, so I don't know what the youngsters hair products will do for me. But anyway, thank you very much all who's locked in. Thank you for joining us on the second episode of our So What Is series. It's a series of shows about hair care, you know, predominantly about the hair and beauty industry, more to do with how to, you know, the do's and the don'ts, the little tips that we can give you for maintaining a good natural hair. If natural hair is your beauty, is your thing. Also, if you are you know, you're into kind of like, you know, weave, locks, things like that, we've got the full load of everything that you need right here on the Hair Care Show. Today's episode is about children's hair care and styling, and it's gonna be, you know, I think we've all been there. Those of you who have children like myself, 3 daughters, and I was fortunate enough to get involved and try to do a little bit of hairstyling myself, I must say. And but the only thing, Lolly, is that my limits were just 2 pigtails, and that was it. But you know,
you got to start somewhere, though, Nick.
I had a try, Lolly. I couldn't do anything else. I just had 2, you know, the ones where you got the 2 down the side.
Yes.
Or sometimes you have the 4. That was my lot.
You know, you had to position them right, otherwise it just didn't look right.
Yeah, but that was my introduction to hairstyling. So you know, we're gonna be looking more at the children's hairstyles, do's and don'ts. What is good hair products to use on your child's hair? You know, the things that can damage your children's hair. You know, we tend to kind of like want to have the latest fashions for our children. We're styling our children like we would style our own hair. I mean, that's the ladies, right? And
here we go.
No, well, the ladies do. The ladies want their children, especially the girl children. They want their hairs to look like theirs. They want, you know, the nice styles and whatever. And the children want that. They're exposed to everything. You know, what's the children's programs, Lolly, and the children in the programs, they're wearing like all the latest hairstyles and things like that, just like the adults. So, you know, I think
it's a way of expression, Nick. It's a way of expression. So today, we have that would bring us on to our guests, actually.
Yes.
Today we have Salem joining us from Root to Tip, and she'll be talking about healthy hair care for kids. We also have Yvonne from Frobel. And she's be discussing children embracing their natural hair. So we've got a lot to talk about with her. We've also got welcoming back Morris Roots, and he will be discussing dealing with children wearing locks. So we've gone from one end to the other. We also have a guest who will be talking about dealing with bringing up a child with mixed hair. That's something that I think is really important as well.
Absolutely.
To discuss, and you know, we'll take an opportunity to have some viewer questions and answers, but you guys can throw to our guests, and we'll see where we go from that.
So I think we're nearly ready to get our first guest in the studio. But do remember, please put your questions in the chat room. We'll be only too delighted to put them to our panel and see, if we can get the answers that you want to. If you even want to just like add something to the show, please do. It's all about interaction this evening. We're here for 1 hour only. So without further ado, I think we can bring our first guest. Salem Alicia, is she in the Salem?
Yeah, welcome.
Hey. So sorry. Yes.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Had a really long day manufacturing of the unit, so a little bit tired, but I'm excited for tonight's show.
Lovely to see you again. I mean, we spoke obviously before when we done the first Great Hair Debate, if you recall.
I do recall. That was a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
That was, yeah actually 5 years ago.
Wow, a lot happened.
Yes. So you're going to tell us about like the children's hair care and styling and things like that, yeah?
Sure. So a little bit about my story. I started making products a few years ago, well, a long time ago, over 10 years ago, for myself and my daughter. My daughter was born with like 6 food allergies, and she had really bad eczema as well. So I wanted to find something natural for her, but there was nothing in the shop at the time. So I came up with my own kind of product for her, which is called the Honey Ranges, which is a detangling product here. And basically, I started using it on her hair, but I also, at the same time, started researching into how to grow Afro hair long and healthy. I never really saw many children with long hair when I was growing up, so I kind of had to change my mindset. So I kind of started making adjustments to how I sort of treated her hair. And at the age of, say, 2 to 5, her hair grew to waist length. And I was like, wow, I've never seen a child with this much hair before. But I stopped doing things like I used no heat on her hair. I rarely combed her hair. I never came around her hair ever in her life, ever. And I never used hair grease. So all the things I've been used to, I didn't do. And it just gave me a completely different result in regards to how her hair grew, how healthy it was, and the product worked amazingly well as well.
Okay.
So how hard? Sorry, Nick.
Oh, go ahead, Lolly. Go ahead.
So when you started off your range, how hard was it to sort of, grow it into the business that it is today? Because Root to Tip, we've all heard of that.
Thank you.
So like how your journey in actually, starting that off from using the products on your daughters to then going out, what was your journey?
Well, I'll be brief, but in the beginning I had hair loss myself, so I kind of had to just I wanted to create a range to help people in the community. I went to the Prince's Trust back in the day. This was like 2008, a long time ago. So I didn't really get much help. I went to the Prince's Trust. I got a loan of £2,000, and kind of just, I think because of the products worked really well. I mean, I'm talking to women in packs are like 2011, over 10 years ago, when there was nothing really natural out. So I was trying to hair educate them. I call it hair education. I was trying to hair educate the women at the same time as selling something new. That's my daughter, Heaven. She's now 15. But we used to do a lot of workshops. We used to travel to France and do workshops over there. So it kind of just grew organically because people had a lot of hair loss issues. And I was really passionate about that. So I literally eat, sleep and breathe all things hair. I'm studying trichology. So it's everything I'm doing that was geared towards helping my customer to have the best hair possible. But I just kind of it grew organically. I didn't know much about the hair industry, first of all. I launched in packs in 2011. We sold up all our products on the first day. And it was kind of it's just grafting, really. I got my family to help do promotion. We used to be on the street giving out leaflets, doing demos on the road. So it was just really lots of hard graft. Lots of mistakes were made. Never had investment. I did go on Dragon's Den in 2016. I always tell the story. It wasn't a great experience for me. I was pregnant at the time. I lost my son 2 weeks later, almost like myself. I was 8.5 months pregnant. I had preeclampsia. And I just kind of feel like my business is here for a reason. Even though I went through all of that, so in the past 5 years since I've seen you guys, I've had another 2 children. I've got 4 children now. I've got a 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 12-year-old, 15-year-olds. And I just think it's the passion and my mission is to change people's hair stories. Yeah. I've spoken to hundreds, if not thousands of women across the world, people in Europe, Italy, Switzerland, Africa, America, and they all come to me with the same kind of situation in terms of their children's hair. Their hair's dry, it's damaged. I have loads of mixed race customers, and I think because our products work really, really well, they just become like our family.
Mhm.
I have WhatsApp groups for mums. I don't charge them anything for giving them advice. I just really want to make a mark in this world in terms of having the best hair products out there, or some of the best hair products out there for our hair conditions. So as I'm doing trichology now, I'm fascinated behind the science behind our hair. It always happened from the beginning. I studied law initially, so I've always had a researching type mind.
Mhm.
I'm quite an academic person. I love to read about things, hair. I learn something new about hair every single day. So I try to share that with the customers I have as well, and kind of take them on the journey. But we are still trying to get to where we want to be. After having that issue with me, I kind of just thought, you know what, I'm gonna rebrand the whole business. So I've started rebranding, redoing my website as well, bringing out some products in the summertime too, working on a brand new newborn baby range as well, because there isn't anything out there on the market for black babies or mixed babies with like really dry scalp conditions.
So I'm going to actually come in at that point then. What would you say is a good routine for, let's say, from a toddler?
A toddler, I'd say to wash their hair at least twice a week. You don't have to always use shampoo. I say to my parents now, just use conditioner to wash the hair. I used to use shampoo in my daughter's hair. It's funny you say toddler. I started doing her hair routine from a toddler. She was about 2.5 when I first started making products for her. So I used to wash her hair like every other day, just rinse it through with conditioner. Her hair was never dry. That's my secret. I rarely use the blow dryer, if at all. I don't think I did when she was a toddler. I'd make sure I'd moisturize her hair every single day. So every day her hair was being moisturized. I never ever used grease on her hair ever. I always wanted to have natural things. Even before I started making products, I was always in the Packs and Hars or Juliet's, it was then, and looking for Nexus products. All the most expensive products that were natural, I was buying those when I was like 15, when I used to work in McDonald's. And I just wanted her hair to be really healthy. So I do things like I deep condition her hair once a week. Even though she was a toddler, I put like a little oil. I used to use extra virgin olive oil. That's her hair when she was little. Put it on her hair, steam it overnight. Use my conditioner. I didn't have the whole range I had then, so I used to use the honey ranges really. I use the butter, twist her hair. I didn't mind her hair getting messy either. And I think a lot of issues we have in the community is that our hairs used to be in tight cane rows and groomed. So when I see children now online and their hair's like the edges are laid, nothing against that, but it's the damage it causes to these small children. Then they grow up and not realizing that their hair, it could have been something more. They think their hair hasn't grown at all when it has grown, but it's not grown to its full potential because we're over styling the hair, over manipulating the hair.
That's interesting. That's interesting, Salem, because usually especially in our culture, we do a lot of cane rowing with our children, right? So we would cane row our children's hair, and it will last for the whole week or maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And some people think that you shouldn't wash your children's hair too often. I've heard that you wash all the natural goodness out of the hair. Is there any truth in that?
There's no truth in that at all. Oftentimes, I mean, when I do my workshops and seminars in the old days, about 10 years ago, I started doing workshops for like foster carers as well in 2008. And I'd teach the foster carers and adopted parents how to care for black or mixed race children's hair. And I'll say that one of the first things I will say to them was, you should wash the child's hair at least once or twice a week. It's not the water making the hair dry, it's the shampoo you're using or the incorrect products. So our hair likes to be clean. And if you don't wash your child's hair for say 3, 4, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, the scalp's getting blocked, the follicles are blocked, the hair's not growing properly, the hair's getting extra dry as well. And I know a lot of parents at my son's school, he used to go to Leopold, and I see the little kids with their hair all shiny and freshly cane rowed. I'm thinking that poor child's hair just wants to be free. If you look at the Indians and white parents, their children's hair was always free, so it grows freely. The scalp's not under any pressure. But if you start to cane row and pull, and sometimes it starts from age like 6 months, they're putting hair bubbles in, it's really tight. I mean, I'm the kind of person to say, well, Mum, please leave that out. I remember doing that in France. I would just be in a nice way, because I'm thinking that child, I can literally see her scalp just screaming. And to me, I can hear the hair talking to me. So I'm like, just give her 5 years. There's a lady on TikTok who was relaxing her daughter's hair just briefly. And I did a commentary on the video. I couldn't believe her daughter was about 6. And she would say, it was retouching time. And she basically put the relaxer through the whole child's head from root to tip. And I'm like, that poor child's hair is literally is so dead and dry. And then it's going to all break off in a couple of months' time or a year's time, if that. and she's not going to know that she could have had the most beautiful, amazing hair ever. So it's about a changing of the mindset.
It's about education, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's about education. But
Yeah.
anyway, Salem, please hang with us, because we want to bring in our next guest now. Because I mean, Lolly, I don't know about you, but you know, for me, I've always the point that Salem's just said about washing 2 or 3 times a week, and that's a good thing. You know, it's about education, isn't it?
I think it is about education, but at the same time, I think where we've got into that sort of thing is because of time, people's lifestyles.
Yeah.
Lifestyle has a lot to do with hair. And on that note, I think this is where we need to bring in Yvonne.
Yes, Yvonne.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you all
Good
doing?
evening, Yvonne.
Thank you for joining us on So What Is. And Yvonne,
Okay.
so you have a hair salon called For Bells, right?
I have a character brand called
A
Throwbells.
character brand called, and it's like it's hair and it's a game as well, right? So it's a whole thing around children's hair and about there's a game and an app as well, isn't it? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, yeah. Throwbells is many things, but essentially Throwbells is 3 sisters that I created alongside with my daughter, who's 9, who have amazing afro hair, and they're illustrated in a cartoon style. And basically, the idea behind Throwbells came about when my daughter was 6 at the time. She was really into dress-up games. She loved playing dress-up games on her iPad during screen time. And one day she came to me and said, "Mum, I'm looking to find a dress-up game with characters that have hair like mine, because I wanna style the characters in the hairstyles that I like, and I can't find any characters who are black or with afro hair. Can you help me find a game that will have that?" And I honestly thought that, you know, in today's world, it wouldn't have been an issue. So I was like, sure, give me 5 minutes. Let me go on the App Store, Google Play, let me find something for you. And I quickly realized that there were hardly any games with black characters with afro hair specifically. And the games that did have a black character had long, straight hair, sometimes pink, sometimes blonde hair, but not the texture that my daughter was expecting to see. So when we realized that, I said, look, you know, I'm always been a firm believer of being the change that you want to see. And I've always instilled in her that when you see something that you can make a difference about, we can do it. So I suggested to her, well, look, we can't find a game. Why don't we create our own? You know, let me find out if there's a means for us to do that as a project. And so it actually grew from becoming an idea of a game to something much bigger, where we now have the game, we have merch, we have activities, we have a magazine, and it's all centered around championing afro hair, natural hair, and for kids to see these characters as relatable characters that they can love and embrace, and in line with that, helping them to also love and embrace their natural hair.
So in terms of, like, obviously bringing the game to market, would you say it's more of an educational tool? Is it more to educate children about you know, about the beauty of their natural hair, or is it more about showing them something that looks like them in terms of, you know, other people's hair and game in a game environment?
It's a bit of both, actually. I mean, the dress-up game that we've created is for recreational purposes. So it's for kids to have fun and play and, you know, play dress up, just as a lot of girls of my daughter's age enjoy. But at the same time, it's a really good way for children to see the breadth of variety of Afro hairstyles that are available, that they can do. And it's all about representation. You know, as I mentioned, there was a distinct lack of representation in dress-up games, what I found. So this was really a call to kind of have that representation, because it's so, so important for children to see that.
Okay. Sorry, was you going to say something there, Lolly?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay, no. So, secondly, what I wanted to find out though is, from there, how did you get the app to market? Did you have to find sponsorship, or did you get investors to invest in this product, or how did you bring it to market?
So it's all been self-funded. So I haven't had any investment or any sponsorship of any kind. So yeah, it's a project that has been very, very close to me and my family's heart. We've all funded it ourselves. And I really wanted it to be a project that me and my daughter could do together. It's been an amazing bonding experience.
Wow.
That's Alyssa, now 9 years old. An amazing bonding experience for us to create something together like this that's making such a difference. So it's been interesting because I'm not from an app development background at all. My background is graphics and marketing. So it was a huge learning curve, but I think through the process, we've learned so much, and it's been a very fulfilling experience to have the end result and seeing the response that we've been getting.
Well, you are a very creative character. I know you're a songwriter as well, right?
How did you find out about that?
Oh, you see.
It's the job. It's the job.
Yes.
Yes, I do. I do a little bit of songwriting and singing as well. As a hobby.
so yeah, well, that it shows that creativity, and I think for your daughters, being inquisitive about not seeing anything that represents herself, that it also shows a bit of a creative mind, because she's thinking, why is this not looking like me and whatever. So I think it's a great thing that you've done, Yvonne. Where do you hope to take this app and this game?
Well, I mean, we've had such an amazing response since we launched the game in November, which was a beta version. So that means it's just kind of a testing version, just to see what the response is and to learn from any feedback that we get. So we're on the brink of actually releasing the full game imminently in the next few weeks. And yeah, we just want to continue updating it. We've been doing fun things with the game. We've been supporting and collaborating with other like-minded businesses, Black fashion brands who we're able to do fun activities with through the game. And we want to bring Fro Boys to the game. So my daughter's adamant that we have to have the boys section as well. So we're going to bring that in for sure as well. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Yvonne? We've got just a few minutes, so I'll try and keep it quick. Have you found that this app has given your daughter more confidence with her hair?
And
her style and her personality.
Alyssa is super confident from the get-go, which I'm super grateful about.
She looks it.
Yeah, she does.
And she's hugely passionate about the brand and what it stands for. But what it has given her is a sense of pride that she's been able to do something like this. And just reading the responses and the comments that we've had from players saying that, one, this is a game that's so needed. It's refreshing to see characters that look like me, that I can, see all the different hairstyles that I love to have on my own hair and kind of recreate that in game. And also, it's actually been really refreshing to hear responses from kids and parents who aren't necessarily having Afro hair. So, for example, I have a very good friend at school, Rosa, who's white, and she's been really excited to play the game because she's actually said she's learning about these hairstyles, which she perhaps wasn't able to know about before, and it's really helping to have a conversation around hair without some of the microaggressions that sometimes can come across, and children don't necessarily mean to do it, but it's because they don't necessarily know how to approach it. So it's been great, and she's super proud of it.
Oh, great. It's something that's good to be proud of. Most definitely. Thank you. Thank you to Yvonne for joining us. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have a little conveation with.
Can I just read a couple of the comments?
I was just about to go to. There you go.
Okay, we're reading each other's minds, Lolly. Not a good place to be if you're you. Okay, so Humility says. Be Humility says, yes, I've heard that if you will wash the natural oils out before, but I learned my son's hair has prospered more from being washed more often. So they're again dispelling the rumors, Also from also from Sonia. Sonia says, could you ask Yvonne that if she found that when she was bringing the app, if she had to, if were people trying to exploit her for her ideas? That's a good question, actually.
I would say I haven't come across that experience as yet.
Good.
Touch wood.
Copyright.
I think I've done my due diligence in the sense that before we started anything, we made sure we did all the right, copywriting and trademarking and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. So that's all been taken care of. If anything, I
Brilliant.
think it's been really nice to get, the feedback that this is inspiring young girls to want to get into app development.
Brilliant.
And to want to create brands of their own. So
fantastic. Well, thank you once again, Yvonne.
Hang there, Yvonne. We'll come back to you throughout the show. Stay with us.
Yeah. So I think this is the time, Nick. We'll move on to our next guest, the legendary.
My favorite Trinidadian, is it? Is it?
I think it might be.
Okay.
Mr. Maurice Roots.
Yay.
Morris,
There he is.
He's back again.
Lolly,
Mr. Morris.
Chicky Nicky.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
I am all right, my brother.
Oh, good
Good evening,
to have
Maurice.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening. We are here again. Wow.
you. So how's your day been so far? How's the work been? Been busy today?
Yeah, today was just mainly consultations.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Maurice, today we're talking about children's hair care. I mean, you are a loctician, so I would assume that your most of your clients are adult based, but you do a lot of children's hair as well. You have experience in things that damage in children's hair or things like that, right?
Yeah. I came from barbering as well, so I've had to have dealt with children from very small. I mean, like babies.
Yeah.
And also our salon cater for children as well, because it's about really trying to put beauty into the child from the minute they come out the womb. And once the parent so we try to create the accommodation for the child, because there's a fear between the child leaving the home and coming into a salon to have their hair done. So we've sort of ring fenced one particular person to deal with the children, who's got the experience in dealing with children. So because it's very important in salons, when you taking your child to a strange place with a strange person, to have their hair done, there is a bit of fear that goes on between the child. Not all children, but I've seen it quite often. So what we try to do in our salon is to try to break that barrier down by having someone who's got the experience to deal with the child and the parent, and also try to have a consultation before to have an understanding of the child's hair texture and where the child is at, the type of activities the child is involved in. So you've got like prior knowledge in dealing with the actual approach before we start to conduct any kind of work.
So can I ask you a question, Maurice? In today's world, pre-COVID, did you see a change in, parents bringing their children to start off locks? Has it changed over the years?
Yeah, I mean, for instance, in the 90s, when we were in the barbershop, a lot of women had problems with coming into the barbershop, because remember, the environment for women, black professional women, they don't really like they didn't then, while I was there, they didn't like the kind of atmosphere and the certain conversations that was taking place in the barbershop, because the barbershop has always been a cultural place. All different kind of conversations take place. So you would find that, some of the fathers used to come, and, we know our history. And so, sometimes the mothers were forced to come because of the absence sometimes of the fathers. So what happened is that I tried to create an environment that it was more neutral, which is why I created the salon and come out of the barbershop. So it was an environment where the woman could have come in and dealt more comfortably with the child. And you know, obviously there were more women as well who were in the salon when the salon was created. But what I find then to now is that because the environment is somewhat warmer, and because that you know women have started to change you know their hairstyles, they've left that sort of chemically treated hair interlocks. You find that there's a surge in younger children coming in into the salon to have their hair done, because you know quite often children normally mirror their parents. So if you see your mom with a certain hairstyle, quite often you would mirror that. So I find that that surge from the 90s to now, you know, there's an upbeat. And even now, I mean, with COVID, I've had something like I've seen something like about probably about 20% rise in children coming and have their hair done. And I'm talking about children across board. I'm talking about you know hair types across board rather. You know, you've got the 1 to the 4s coming through the door, queries, and you know mainly over 6. You know, rare. You know, we don't really get like babies. You know, you get more like 7, 8 and going up. Especially boys that are now hitting like 12. And I think what has happened as well is that you've got loads of footballers, for instance, popular footballers who have got their hair in twists or locks.
Yeah.
And boys tends to be involved in football. Either they're watching it on TV or they're playing it at school or their friends. So again, it's like a role model type style. You know, so they're coming into the salon to have that done. I mean, I would even talk about, there was one mixed race child from Notting Hill. His mom brought him to me when he was 7 years old. And when he came into the salon, his hair was literally about size 8 in diameter. And it wasn't really that matted, but she had problems in looking after it. His father was a very good friend of my uncle. They grew up together in Notting Hill, Ladbroke Grove, and so that was the kind of relationship for him to bring him through. So it was the same thing I mentioned earlier on, is that the fear of wanting to come down into a salon to have your hair started. And he had come to, not to the salon, she had brought him to the barbershop. And it took him, I think was about 11 years later, to come back. Well, obviously now he would have been 18 when he was 7, or I think he was 6 or 7 years old. And his hair was literally matted because he wouldn't let anybody touch his hair during the time he went to boarding.
Look at that.
Oh wow.
Right. He went to boarding school in Seattle, and that's how his hair ended up after 11 years untouched. So I had to cut the hair through, literally cut the hair through with the scissors, just to maintain the strength of the hair, because the hair obviously have its own individual strength. So when they merge or when they join, there's a technique in cutting them through so you don't damage every lock. It took me something like about 7 hours to really bring the hair right back to how it was. So it was an amazing experience. I started his hair like about 12 and I didn't finish until 12 midday. I didn't finish until about 7, 8 o'clock.
Wow.
And yeah, you know, it's that relationship that I'm talking about between the child, the salon, and the particular stylist, because there are stylists who doesn't really know how to deal with the child.
So Maurice,
yeah.
Sorry, Maurice. I wanted to get this bit in. Was it his parents Rastafarians?
No.
No. So it's just strictly
Just started.
Yes. His mom was white. His mom is white. His father is Trinidadian, Notting Hill, sort of like just one of those guys who normal, you know. He had no Rastafarian background or
Because
nothing like that.
the reason why I asked that, because obviously culturally, you know, Rastafarians, they grow their locks, right? And do you find that a lot of Rastafarians grow their children in that culture in order to get them to, you know, to give them locks from an early age as well? Have you come across that kind of scenario where the parents have locks their children, and
Of
you've
course.
had to?
Of course. I mean, but what you need to understand is that Rastafarians or Bobo, right, do not come into salons,
No.
right? So the people that coming into the salon is the sort of 90s influence parents who would have had one who would have gone into a new lifestyle where they want to look after themselves naturally from head to toe.
Right.
Also people who would have been influenced by the sort of like Lauryn Hill era. Also, there would be people who would have had bad experiences with the perms and all these other styles. And then there were people who just wanted something for fashion.
So just a fashion thing.
We're going to touch on that actually when we
Yeah.
come back to our group thing, because I've got a question actually for something about that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Morris, for joining us. Again, don't go anywhere.
Well, you know, the rest of them say, Lolly, the rest of them say, bun down the comb and bun down the, you know, they don't deal with them things there. So I just was interested to know if you know, because obviously from a fashion point of view, you know, that they wouldn't really be indulging in like a fashion sense. It's from more of a cultural sense and stuff. But you know, sometimes they need that extra help. If it's not under control. But anyway, continue, Lolly.
Thank you very much, Morris. And on that note, were some of the things that Morris just touched on there. It's a good way to bring in our next guest. We have Jess joining us this evening. Good evening, Jess.
Hello.
Hey, Jess.
How are you?
Hey.
Very good, thank you.
Oh, good. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jess is going to be discussing with us what it's like dealing with children with mixed hair, or yourself, or, you know, so on that note, shall I say, I'm going to hand it over to you, Jess.
So my little girl, Malia, she has just turned 6 and her hair is very different to mine. I've got a lot of hair, but I've got like big loose curls. She's got very tight hair. And I first met Sal from Root to Tip. I think I was about 20, so about 12 years ago. I went to a hair education event, which is how I started getting into the Root to Tip products, which are really good for my hair. Fast forward, and then I had my little girl, and when she got to about 2, I didn't touch her hair for sort of the first 2 years, not at all. I just let it grow, and then it started getting like quite matted and thick to the back of her head. So I reached out to Sal and I was like, what do I do? And I look back at photos now and I just think, oh my goodness, like what wasn't I doing with her hair? It was just crazy.
So let me ask you then, Jess, before you met Salem, did you go and visit like hairdressers and salons, that kind of thing, and get some advice or anything like that? What was your routine before? How was you managing before you met her? And you found the Root to Tip product?
Hair or my hair?
Yeah, well, both, yeah.
So my hair, so I used to relax my hair. I relaxed it for about 13 years. I guess I just wanted long, straight hair like everyone else. And I did manage to grow it really, really long. And then it just got to a stage, you know, I hadn't had it relaxed for a really long time. And the curls started to come through. I think it'd been about 8 months. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know what my natural hair looked like. So then that's why I went to a hair education event to learn about how to look after my natural hair. Had it all chopped off so that I could let it grow, and then just started using much more natural products, which I wasn't using before when I was chemically straightening it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then with my little girl, so that I could kind of understand how to deal with her hair, the sort of turning point really was lockdown, actually, when we were kind of stuck at home, needed things to do. And that's when I started watching a lot of the Root to Tip YouTube tutorials. I'd constantly like message Sal, and she's always a massive source of advice. And she'd say, you know, steam her hair, use the honey rain juice to detangle, which we now do every day, and then add some moisturizer, the Triple M, and then we'd lock it in with sealant. And then I learned to twist her hair to really keep the moisture locked in. And then Sal taught me a banding technique, which again, so now I only have to do her hair sort of every 4 to 5 weeks in terms of restyling. And the most important thing about it to me was when she started school reception, she started getting knits, which was horrific. Trying to get a knit comb through any type of mixed or afro hair. It was the most torturous thing I've ever had to do as a parent. It was horrific. So yeah, the banding has really helped with that. I tend to do a twisted style for 4 weeks and then do a banded style so I can stretch it out for an extra week. Yeah.
So Jess, in terms of like products that you've actually come across before you was introduced to Sal, did you find that there was readily available products that suited, first of all, your hair, secondly, your daughter's hair?
So I live down in Brighton. Down here, no, like I've always grown up in Brighton. Luckily I have family up in Peckham, so it'd be a case of every couple of months going, raiding all the stores, driving back down to Brighton and flogging it all to my friends, kind of thing. So that's what I do. But it was just a case of, you know, constantly trying loads and loads of products, you know, and you'd spend a fortune on trying all these different products that actually weren't any good for your hair, because it's trial and error, which is then where, you know, hair education and my relationship with Sal, I feel like I have a very bespoke hair sort of education with her, because any question I ask, she helps me out. So now, both with my hair and my daughter's hair, we have a small range of products that work for us. And anytime, like my hair, for example, because I've added color to it a little while ago, it gets very dry. And then, you know, so I reached out to Sal. I was like, you know, my hair's not curling. I feel really fed up. I don't feel like myself. Like my hair is a big part of my personality. So then she got me into steaming. And, you know, now that's the latest thing. So on a Friday night, when me and my daughter have what we call girls' night sleepover, we steam our hair. So that's what we'll be doing tomorrow night.
Oh, fantastic. So how do your daughter prefer to wear her hair? What's her ideal? Does she like you say, the twists, or does she like it out? What does she like to wear?
For her, she just wants to wear it out in an ideal world, but then she doesn't like it for school because she knows if she wears it out, she will get knits. And then she hates the process. So I always say to her, we always look through images. I say, you know, what style do you want to choose this week? And she always reverts back to the same one. So like her 8 twists, she has different color bobbles which sort of like hold it down nicely for school. And it's something, you know, we had to reach out to school and have a conversation with them and say, you know, she's either coming into school with a head wrap on so we don't get knits, or you have to accept that she's got bobbles in her hair because you know, then we can have it, you know, in a tied back style. Yeah,
I was going to say that because, you know, obviously, especially with kids from a Afro-Caribbean or mixed race background, with the schools, they are very particular about how our kids wear their hair and how they style it, you know. So I was going to ask that about, you know, obviously for her, the health of her hair, she would have to wear it out or tie it up or whatever. So I was going to ask that, you know, about the fact that you've already answered that now anyway. So
yeah, and I was very adamant, you know, I never wanted to cut her hair because to both me and her, you know, the bigger the better. And the amount her hair has grown, you know, sort of in the last year through lockdown, through doing the twists, the before and after photos from, you know, protecting her hair with this method and with the Root to Tip products, it's just amazing. It's so empowering for her. She just loves it.
How old is she, Jess?
She's 6, just turned 6.
She's just turned 6, so she's got a long way to go to find her nice lane, what she likes. She'll go through hundreds of fashions before she finds what she likes.
Oh yes, as we all did.
Yeah.
Indeed. Thank you, Jess. Thank you for joining us
No problem.
this evening. Lolly, so where we at on our schedule?
So I guess, so we're going to have some viewer questions. We're going to bring everybody back, but I'd just like to take a couple of minutes for us to just sort of go through what we just, we had
Indeed.
quite a few good points there and some tips, and I saw quite a few people, talking about some of the stuff that came up.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of like, mixed race here, I could kind of like identify with that kind of, even though I'm not, well, I say loosely, I'm not mixed race. Both my parents are Jamaican, but obviously due to the shade of my skin, I'm mixed race down the line, obviously, right? So, but when I was growing up, I had a mass of curls, a mass of curly hair when I was like younger. And my parents would never cut my hair. Everyone else, they cut their hair. They said, "Oh no, we're not going to cut his hair because it's really curly and stuff." And I find that parents were so afraid back then to touch their children's hair because they didn't want to spoil it. They were.
That's the thing with boys though, because it seems like boys, they're having their hair cut later. The parents don't cut their hair.
Yes.
The same boys like going into, in middle school and they got cane rows and they got twists or what have you. They're wearing natural styles with the length. They're not cutting it as maybe years ago before. It was just like down to the barbershop. Yeah,
definitely. And I think with the girls especially as well, going back to when little girls used to use a hot comb on little girls, on young girls, and that would be frowned upon in today. So it's a good thing that we have these natural hair products now, and we're much more educated about what is good for our children's hair, what not to use. I mean, who knew about things like oils and these kind of things that are bad for your hair, which you thought were good. Some oils obviously
I think we did kind of know, but I think again a lot of things are down to lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? So people just need quick fixes or something to last them for, or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
So what was that Dax about? The one that smelled like tar.
I think that was to weight everything down, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Should we bring our guest back in?
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah, let's bring the guest back in and have a conversation. Welcome back, Morris, Yvonne, also Salim.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Can you hear? So welcome back. We've got about 12 minutes, so we're going to be taking a few questions from our chat room as well. And obviously, if there's any questions that you want to pose to our panel, please feel free. We've got about, as I said, 10-12 minutes for you to pick their brains, ask them what you want to ask them. I mean, obviously, you have children. You want to know the things that you shouldn't do or the things that you should do. Recommendations now's the time. Put your questions in the chat room and we will get them answered for you.
I have a question myself actually, and it's one that I want to actually put to Morris. You've obviously been in the industry for many years and you're working with natural hair. How do you feel about this new styling of faux locks? How do you feel about that?
Me personally, I don't have a problem with it. Because what it does, it helps transition the chemically treated look into the natural locks look. What I've got a problem with is the commercial aspects of it, the manufacturing aspects of it, the fact that we don't control it. The financial, the financial control of it. But for somebody who is basically, using faux locks in order to transition from chemically treated hair or that chemically treated look into a natural look, I welcome it because it almost represents the beauty that we as Black people and African people should be really standing up against with each other races.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, for me, you know, the only problem I have with it is, like I said, is the fact that we don't control it.
Yeah.
We don't control it.
Do you see it more as an adult style and not something? It's more of an adult style and not so much of a child style. Would you recommend something like that for children, like that? You know, like with the Brock's braids on children and that kind of thing. Do you think the faux locks?
Well, I mean, the faux locks is really just simple, the way how it's attached. So the problem would be the foundation, really. When you braid the hair and then you loop it on. So it's not really it can be seen as a protective style. It can be seen as a good transition. Will I recommend it for a child? It depends on what that child is using it for. You find that there are children who's doing drama in school. It just depends. I would not just blanketly just say no. It has to be like a case situation.
Okay.
You know, I as a stylist, I don't although I've got my own personal views, but when it comes to the business, I try to hear each case and take it from a professional perspective and deal with it accordingly.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Morris.
Right, I've got a question, and this one's from Michael. Michael says, can you ask the panel if doing braids in young children's hair damages their hair long term and their scalp? Anyone want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I will. I think I've seen this quite a lot, especially in France, where you have a lot of, for example, mixed race families and children, and the father will take the child off to aunties to get their hair braided, and it really does cause a lot of damage because it's often too tight, and it damages the follicles. And if that happens over and over again, the hair just won't grow back. It's kind of like uprooting a plant from its soil. Once you root it out too many times, especially around the hairline, which is really, really fragile anyway, the perimeter of the hair, it won't grow back, and that child feels like they've got a bad hairline because oftentimes the braids are too heavy for the scalp. So I wouldn't agree with putting braids on a small child's hair.
Wow. Okay. Also, actually, he says there was another part of this that I didn't see. He said that does it cause scarring as well of the scalp?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm referring to. When you get scarring of the follicles, you won't get any hair growth activity there at all. Right. So it's really, I just say, let the hair be as free as possible. Loose twists, even cane rows are too tight sometimes. I find that a lot of children I've come across, whether it be on the road or in workshops, whatever, of the parents who reach out to me, their hair's always braided really tight, and the children are offering pain as well. But and they get used to that pain over time, which is not a nice thing. But their hair, to me, never grows to its full potential because of this. Because if you think about trying to grow a plant in the garden and you hang some things on the plant's leaves, how is it going to grow to its full, really bloom to its full potential if you're always hanging things and pulling on the roots? Eventually uproots, it just doesn't grow back again. So we have to kind of look at that as well in the community a lot. I see so many children with hair that's just stressed out and the scalp's very sore, it's very dry. So it's a lot of work to be done, but I think I would say to any parent watching now, just leave the child's hair to be free. If you do want to style your child's hair, just make sure I call it soft scalp styling, triple S method. So the scalp should be soft, no stress at all.
Got another one. I don't know why they're targeting me. Maybe because I sent out the links myself. They're texting me on my own phone. But it's this one from Sonia, and Sonia says. Also, what I find is that a lot of younger children are wearing extensions. Are extensions damaging children's hair as well? So,
anybody else?
Morris, do you want to come in on that one, Morris?
Yeah, extensions definitely damages. And just to add what Salem just said, I mean, the clients that I started having were a result of traction alopecia, and all the front of their hair receded a lot of times, and you wouldn't that the hair don't actually revisit, and you would find that a lot with West Africans, some people in the Caribbean as well, but mainly in West Africa, where you find or Africa as a whole, where you find braiding was like so regular within the culture. So definitely braid damages your hair. Some children escape it, but then the majority of them would suffer from that traction, that constant pulling and that tightness on the scalp.
But the extensions in particular, does extensions go down into the actual scalp, or does the extensions come just off the tip of the hair, or is it
no?
Is there a difference?
Extensions marries into the actual virgin hair.
Right.
If you're talking about loose extensions, double twist extensions, the majority of time extensions is to add on to what you already got. So whether they do it further in or they do it further out, there is still a bit of a tension and a bit of a weight, and it creates traction. So you know what I mean, it definitely still, unless you are just using the extensions like on the very, very ends of the hair, and you're doing it like a 2-strand twist extensions, where it's totally different. It's a free-flowing style. But once you were talking about braided extensions, like corner extension, most of the times, it's definitely the weight and the pulling, and it does cause traction.
Right, I've got one last question. I don't. Right, let's see if we can squeeze this last. So we've only got 5 minutes left, but I want to squeeze this in. This one's from Michael again. He's busy. I don't know what he's doing.
Very busy tonight.
He's busy, but he says it's what about certain products that babies have been born into, like Johnson's? He said that we use Johnson's baby shampoo and we use Johnson's baby oil and things like that in our baby's hair. Is this damaging our children's hair? That's a great point, because I brought up on Johnson's myself.
Absolutely. So I'm going to jump in right here, because this is a subject really close to my heart. A massive amount of chemicals and products, especially towards young babies. And Johnson's is not a brand I'd ever recommend to anybody. Endocrine disruptor chemicals, or EDCs, are often synthetic chemicals found in products marketed towards Black and mixed race children. And what we don't realize is in the community, there's loads of fibroids and breast cancer amongst Black women, and these things are linked to EDCs. So just briefly, in 2011, I wrote an article called Baby Don't Bald, and I came across a product in Pact actually called Baby Don't Bald. In that product formulation was animal hormones, and it was marketed towards Black children who had the balding spot at the back of their heads, and you rub that cream onto their scalp. It's meant to make the hair grow back, but what it does is it actually leaches into the child's body, and it disrupts the endocrine system, imbalances the hormones, which leads to them developing really early in girls, infertility in boys, and loads of other health conditions further down the line. I'd say, please be careful what you use in your baby's hair. Please be careful. It's such a massive subject.
Thank you, Sal. Thank you, Sal. Just a quick one. Cassandra Charles says children with natural hair should be proud of their hair and not conform to society when left naturally. That's Cassandra. I think that's a
nice place to stop there.
To stop, yeah. Listen, guys and girls, thank you very much for joining us. It's been enlightening. It's been educating. I, for one, have learned some things this evening. And it's people like yourselves that inspire us to keep doing things like this. Because
definitely, ladies and gentlemen, as well, do follow the links. If we can get the links up of all our guests as well, so they can get some information on children's hair as well. If we can get those up, that would be fantastic. Not my one.
not ours. Forget about us, God.
There we go. We got Salem. There we go. So if we got for Root to Tip, we've got Yvonne Pro Bells as well, and we've also got Morris Root. So do check them out, ladies and gentlemen. To get I'm sure they're quite willing to give information and help you guys and guide you in the journey of children's hair.
Great show, loved it. Can't wait for the next episode. Thank you very much. Oh, that was a quick one, Lolly. That went flash by, didn't it?
It really did. It really did.
I must say, I must say, Lolly, before we go, the views here of anybody on the panel or anyone who has called in and asked their questions is not representative. So that's our disclaimer: is it's not representative of this platform or the producers of this platform. I just want to say that.
We'll get all technical there. Legal.
Illegal.
Nick, it's been amazing.
Thank you, Lolly. Thank you for
ladies and
another
gents,
amazing
yeah.
show.
Ladies and
And
gentlemen,
join us.
next time, two weeks time, isn't it?
2 weeks time, is it? Yeah. You've
2
got the
weeks time.
schedule, Lolly, so you know. You tell me. All right, ladies and gents.
Take care.
Thank you very much.